Now that we've visited the locations of former Catholic churches in the rural parts of our Archdiocese of Omaha, I wish to give a final reflection before finishing this series. Over the course of more than a year, I researched the history and visited the sites of 46 former Catholic churches in the rural areas of the Archdiocese of Omaha. There are also some 15 locations of former Catholic churches within Omaha itself that I haven't included in this series. Perhaps they could be a future edition, but as for now, I need to limit my scope. Before beginning this series, I was already aware of some of these former Catholic churches, especially in the area where I grew up, near Howells. Once I arrived in my current assignment here in Randolph, I learned about other parishes that I never knew existed. As I did my research, I also discovered other parishes that I didn't know about, and I found that many of our current Catholic faithful also were unaware of this history. Sometimes, histories of these former churches were written down in current nearby parish histories, or in town or county history books I found in local libraries. But in other cases, finding information was a challenge. Of the over 60 former Catholic churches across the Archdiocese, many have little to mark their former location. At others, former parishioners have placed some kind of marker, recalling that a church had once been there. Over 20 are marked by cemeteries, almost all of which are still in use. Only a few still have the deteriorating church left largely the way that it was when it was closed. Several church buildings have been repurposed for other uses, such as non-Catholic churches, homes, museums, or storage. And finally, sometimes the rectories are still there at the former locations, now used as homes. Unfortunately, in my research, I didn't have time to purposefully seek out any former parishioners to do personal interviews. Perhaps someone seeing these videos will have information that they could add that I was unable to find. I was blessed to meet and talk with a few individuals who now live at these former locations. also had conversations when doing research at current parishes or when I was out filming on location. For what benefit or purpose did I produce this series? Well, for myself, I have a greater appreciation for the sacrifices made by the faithful who built these churches, and for my brother priests and the generations before me who served them. Working on this series has also helped me to process the changes that I have gone through during the past 7 years of being a rural priest. I am better able to see God's will through the changes and to accept them more readily as coming from Him. For the Catholic faithful in the Archdiocese of Omaha, especially out here in our rural areas, I hope that this series has helped many to accept the reality of the losses and changes brought about through the Journey of Faith pastoral planning process, and to help them to process their grief. These are the first 2 tasks of mourning. Since our parish church is the place where many of us meet the Lord at the most important moments of our life, it shouldn't be surprising that we must mourn changes to a loved parish church, just as we would mourn a loved one who has died. Based on conversations that I've had, I feel that this has been the case. The final task of mourning, when grieving the loss of a loved one, is to find an enduring connection with the deceased in the midst of embarking upon a new life. So in this series, I've sought to honor the former churches and Catholic communities who founded them. When our ancestors faced changes to the location where sacraments were celebrated, this did not force them to stop living out the faith. So too for us. As I finish this series, I hope we may now adjust to our new parish families and learn to embark on this new life. Having looked behind and learned from our past, we must turn our hearts to Jesus and live out our faith now and into the future. Thus, moving forward, I will be focusing more on teaching prayer and the mission of evangelization, perhaps each in a future series. Today we are tasked by the Lord with our own personal growth in holiness and with passing on to the coming generations faith on the frontier.